Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauds India's fantastic and future-ready auto industry while inaugurating the second edition of the Bharat Mobility Global Expo in New Delhi. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Bibi convicted in a landmark graft case. Khan sentenced to 14 years in prison. Israel's cabinet to meet on Gaza ceasefire and hostage release after Prime Minister Netanyahu says deal finalized. French President Emmanuel Macron arrives in Lebanon to push for sovereignty and reforms amid new hope for the new leadership. And India's President Draupadi Murmu confers the National Sports Awards in New Delhi. D. Gukesh, Harmanpreet Singh, Praveen Kumar and Manu Bhaker get the Khel Ratna Award. Inaugurating the second edition of the Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025, the largest mobility expo in India, in New Delhi today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that India's journey in the mobility sector has been a transformational one and is set to witness an exponential growth. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya reports.
The Bharat Mobility India's largest and most anticipated mobility event kicked off in a grand style as India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated its second edition at Bharat Mandapam in India's national capital New Delhi on Friday. This year's theme, Beyond Boundaries, Co-creating Future Automotive Value Chain, underscores the power of collaboration, innovation and sustainability to revolutionize the global mobility landscape. PM Modi said that the journey of developed India in the mobility sector is set to be one of unprecedented transformation and is set to witness exponential growth.
भारत की सबसे बड़ी युवा आबादी, मिडिल क्लास का लगातार बढ़ता दायरा, तेजी से होता अर्बनाइजेशन, भारत में बन रहा आधुनिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, मेक इन इंडिया से अफोर्डेबल व्हीकल, ये सारे फैक्टर्स भारत में ऑटो सेक्टर की ग्रोथ को पुश करने वाले हैं, नई ताकत देने वाले हैं.
With a whopping 500,000 visitors expected to make footfall at the event, the expo offers a glimpse into the future of transportation. From electric and hybrid vehicles to cutting-edge connected and autonomous technologies, the event has something for everyone. PM Modi also gave a mantra of 7 C's, which will reshape India's mobility solution.
बीते साल में भारत की ऑटो इंडस्ट्री करीब 12% की ग्रोथ से आगे बढ़ी है. मेक इन इंडिया, मेक फॉर द वर्ल्ड के मंत्र पर चलते हुए अब एक्सपोर्ट भी बढ़ रहा है. इतनी तो दुनिया के कई देशों की पॉपुलेशन नहीं है जितनी हर साल भारत में गाड़ियां बिक रही है. एक साल में करीब 2.5 करोड़ गाड़ियां बिकना ये दिखाता है कि भारत में डिमांड लगातार कैसे बढ़ रही है.
India now stands as an outstanding destination for every investor looking to shape their future in the mobility sector.
With innovation and sustainability at its core, Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025 sets the stage for a transformative future in mobility. As global and Indian players collaborate, the Expo promises to redefine the way we move and connect. With camera person Monty, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
And DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us from New Delhi now. Akshay, what makes this second edition of the Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025 in Delhi unique and different from the first edition?
Well, there were a lot of unique aspects to this year's edition of Bharat Mobility Expo. In fact, if you compare, and as Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also said that if you compare the scope of Bharat Mobility, in comparison to the two editions, this year we saw much larger participation, not just the participants, but also the exhibitors. For example, in last year's Bharat Expo, there were about 1,000 exhibitors, about 800 to 1,000 exhibitors that had participated. This time around, there are 5 times more. In fact, over 5,000 exhibitors are this time around showcasing their innovations and their automobile parts or devices or cars as well at the Bharat Mobility Expo 2025. In fact, the participation has also risen from 1.5 lakh or 150,000 last year to an expected participation of about 500,000 participants that will be coming to see these exhibitions that have been set up not only at one place but at 3 different places, including one at Dwarka at Yashobhumi, one here in New Delhi at Bharat Mandapam, and one in Noida as well. So the scope has expanded. A lot of new innovations, a lot of new ideas have come forward, and exhibitors are also quite excited as far as this year's Bharat Mobility Expo is concerned.
Okay, and India's innovations and partnerships in the mobility sector are being highlighted at this event. Could you tell us more about these innovations?
Well, there are innovations all over the sector. In fact, from electronic vehicles, from EVs to green hydrogen projects that have been started by the government, to the kind of support that the automotive sector is in fact receiving from the government of India. A lot of innovation has taken place. A lot of startups have come up with different and newer technologies, better innovations, better fuel efficiencies. So all of these are in fact making headlines as far as this automobile exposition is concerned. That will take place until 22nd of January, and from 19th to 22nd, even the common people will be allowed to visit these expositions, where not just the participants will be present, exhibitors will be present, but these viewers will also be allowed to go and see, in fact, the kind of innovations that are on display at this Bharat Expo 2025.
Okay, thank you, Akshay. Akshay Dongre reporting from New Delhi. Moving on, former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan has been sentenced to 14 years in prison in a land corruption case by an anti-graft court on Friday. His wife Bushra Bibi has been handed over a 7-year prison sentence. The verdict was delivered from a prison court near Islamabad. The case involves land transfer to a non-governmental welfare trust set up and managed by Khan and his wife Soleh. So Imran Khan being sentenced to 14 years in prison in this land graft case. DD India's Amit Mukherjee joins us on the story now. Imran Khan and his wife have been convicted by a Pakistani court in a graft case, sentencing them both to prison terms. What happens next? Can Imran Khan appeal against the judgment?
Well, of course, Tanvi, Imran Khan can definitely appeal because this verdict has come from a lower court. But having said that, I would like to also point out that this is a perfect example of the caustic, vindictive politics that happens in Pakistan. Time and again, we have seen since the inception of Pakistan, it has been riddled with a history which has been oscillating between military rule and a secular, democracy, which again is a facade, because the military has always been powerful. It has been, in fact, termed as one of the most corrupt militaries across the world, and it has always been powerful. The moment they see that the political, dispensation is not towing their line, always these kind of things come up, and which has again been happening with Imran Khan. At least 200 cases have been registered against him. That's because he has not been following the diktats of the military regime out there, and of course the political favorites of the military regime, which is why, 200 cases of several corruption charges and graft charges have been leveled against him, and he has been languishing in jail since since August 23 in this particular case. Now, time and again, this verdict of this particular case has been delayed. Now, Imran Khan has been alleging that this delay has been purely to pressurize him to give in into kind of towing the line of the military regime. In fact, but he said in the last, a bite from the jail, he said that I'm not going to make a deal, or I'm not going to make any compromise, or even I'm not going to ask for any relief. So the courts will take their own course. But yes, of course, coming back to your question, this is a lower court's verdict, and Imran Khan has all, the liberty to go and appeal at a higher court. But again, you know how things operate under the, dictatorial regime. So I really wonder that Imran would be getting much relief. Tanvi?
Okay, thank you very much. Amit Mukherjee there reporting on the story on Pakistan, Imran Khan getting sentenced to 14 years in prison. Moving on. In South Korea, Anticorruption Agency is seeking to extend the detention of impeached President Yun Sool, who has refused to be questioned by investigators while being held at the Seoul Detention Center. To keep Yun in custody for longer, investigators need to request a court to approve a detention warrant for up to 20 days. Yun has been kept at the Seoul Detention Center since his arrest on Wednesday. Pro-Yun supporters were rallying outside the detention center protesting against his arrest. On Wednesday, Yun became the first sitting South Korean president to be arrested over a probe into whether he committed insurrection when he briefly imposed martial law in early December. French Prime Minister François Bayrou passed the first test of his new minority government on Thursday as he survived a vote of no confidence called by the hard left after the centre-left Socialist Party did not back the motion. This is the first no confidence vote Bayrou has faced after he formed the government on December 23, 2024. In a National Assembly with 577 lawmakers, 131 lawmakers voted in favour of the motion, well short of the 288 votes that were needed. The far-right National Rally Party of Marine Le Pen had already signalled that it would not support the motion. Bayrou is the sixth Prime Minister to serve under President Emmanuel Macron. He was appointed last month after the resignation of Michel Barnier, who served just 3 months in office, making him the shortest-serving Prime Minister in French history. Still to come on DD India News Hour. UK is mulling to deploy peacekeeping troops to Ukraine as the two countries sign a landmark 100-year partnership accord. Cuban opposition leader Jose Daniel Ferrer freed in a landmark deal with departing US President Joe Biden. And Los Angeles evacuees told to stay away from home for at least another week as firefighters make progress in containing the deadly fires.
Goa, an adventure paradise like none other. From lush forests to rugged hills, from pristine ocean beach stretches to stunning lakes, there is something to explore in every corner of the state. And some adventures are wilder than others. Watch postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvita Neja. Things are moving at a quick pace towards peace in West Asia. Israel's Security Cabinet is scheduled to meet on Friday after final details of a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal were ironed out as per Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office. The United States is also confident of the timely implementation of the ceasefire deal. A report.
The ceasefire accord that emerged on Wednesday after mediation by Qatar, Egypt and the US to end the conflict that began with deadly Hamas attacks on Israel is set to be approved by Israel. The deal outlines a 6-week initial ceasefire with gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces. But Israel's acceptance of the deal will not be official until it is approved by the Security Cabinet and the government. And if approved, agreement would take effect from Sunday, January 19th. Dozens of hostages taken by Hamas would be freed in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners detained in Israel, after which the terms of a permanent end to the conflict would be finalized. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken expressed confidence that the Gaza ceasefire deal would be implemented as scheduled.
On the ceasefire, yes, I am confident, and I fully expect that implementation will begin, as we said, on Sunday. Look, it's not exactly surprising that in a process and a negotiation that has been this challenging and this fraught, you may get a loose end. We're tying up that loose end as we speak. I've been on the phone in one way or another all morning with Brett McGurk, with our Qatari friends, and I'm very confident that this is moving forward, and we'll see the start of implementation of the agreement on Sunday.
Meanwhile, the deal is being hailed worldwide. Leaders of the G7 countries called the ceasefire deal in Gaza a significant development and urged Israel and Hamas to work on its full implementation. Now the road is open for more aid into Gaza. The World Health Organization called on the international community to step up and fund a scaled-up aid response in Gaza after the deal.
This is the time for member states, donors, and the global community to step up, to provide this flexible funding and to enable these swift and effective responses and for the urgent and longer-term needs. And the UN cannot deliver the response alone on all fronts. The private sector is critical, and private supply chains should be restored and basic commodities allowed to flood Gaza.
The first phase of the deal will see Israeli forces withdraw from Gaza's densely populated areas and allow displaced Palestinians to return to their residences. The outgoing US President Joe Biden said the second phase of the agreement could bring a permanent end to the war. Aarti Rana's report for DD India.
And DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh joins us for more on this story. Shubhendu, as the last-minute hiccups in the Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal have been ironed out, would the truce go as per plans?
Well, Tanvi, expectations are high that this time ceasefire truce will work out between Hamas and Israel. One last hurdle remains, that is the ratification of the ceasefire agreement by the Security Cabinet of Israel. Now, similar attempts at peace had failed previously, but the expectations are high this time also because it has a backing of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Much rides on achieving peace. There's been 15 months of brutal violence and war in the region. For Israel, it would mean return to some semblance of normalcy. For people of Gaza, it would be another opportunity to life, dignity and reconstruction. For the whole of Middle East, we know that global trade had also been affected as a fallout of this conflict in the Red Sea, and that resolution could also be achieved. We know the key players, US, UAE, Egypt, peacemakers had worked hard to achieve this. For Joe Biden, it would be an important signing off to conclude his presidentship. And for, more importantly, Donald Trump, the incoming president of America, he would want a clear palette, be able to focus on domestic issues, not be distracted by conflicts such as one in Gaza and also in Ukraine. So much rides on this peace proposal as we speak. Friday today, the Security Cabinet of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to meet and ratify. And once that is done, a day after tomorrow, which is Sunday, that is just one day before the oath-taking of the new President of the United States, the peace plan would be implemented.
Yes, the ceasefire agreement has followed intensified efforts from mediators, Qatar, Egypt and the US. So if finalized, tell us how are Israel and Hamas planning to implement this truce?
Well, broadly, as we understand, it's going to be a phase-wise ceasefire plan. There are going to be 3 phases. The first phase that kickstarts on January 19th, Sunday, if all goes well, is going to be about 6 weeks long. The initial plan is that about 33 Israeli hostages in the captives of Hamas will be released, women, children, elderly. mostly, and in return, Israel will also release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. There would also be a partial withdrawal by Israeli forces from Gaza. After 6 weeks, and negotiations will continue even while this phase is on. In the second phase, it is expected that all the remaining hostages are going to be released by Hamas, and in return, there'll be more prisoners who would be released, and there'll be, importantly, a complete withdrawal of Israeli security forces from Gaza. The third phase, which is not very clear, and it is still far away in terms of the expectations one can have, it is expected that a large-scale reconstruction program, humanitarian aid would be provided to the region of Gaza, which for the past 15 months we know has been pounded by bombs. Large-scale destruction and killing has happened in Gaza. But one flag that is important, Tanvi, is that what happens to the governance of Gaza? What happens to the power that Hamas so far had consolidated? There is no clarity from either side about what happens to the manner in which Gaza is going to be governed and ruled. So barring that, expectations high for the first phase of ceasefire. Tanvi?
Okay, thank you very much. Shubhendu Ghosh reporting on this story. French President Emmanuel Macron is in Beirut as a show of support for Lebanon's new leadership. Macron is due to meet President Joseph Aoun and his Lebanese counterpart later today. His visit comes at a time when Lebanon is seeking to enter a new phase with Joseph Aoun's election as president on January 9th and Nawaf Salam's appointment as Prime Minister designate. The leaders now face the task of leading Lebanon after the Israel-Hezbollah conflict and years of economic crises. Macron is also expected to meet UN Chief Antonio Guterres in Beirut as the January 26th deadline to fully implement the Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire deal approaches. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer signed a landmark 100-year partnership agreement with Ukraine during an unannounced visit to the country, seeking to shore up support for Kiev. In Starmer's first official visit to Kiev since taking office last July, he pledged steadfast support in the face of the Russian invasion and said any deal to end the fighting must guarantee Ukraine's security and independence.
We must look at how this war could end, the practical ways to get a just and lasting peace. We agree that it must be a peace that guarantees your security, your independence, and your right to choose your own future. We will work with you and with all of our allies on steps that would be robust enough to guarantee Ukraine's security, guarantee any possible peace, and deter any future aggression. That conversation will continue in the months ahead.
Starmer later added that the UK would also discuss with allies deploying peacekeeping troops to Ukraine to help guarantee security following any ceasefire with Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed the 100-year accord, saying he hoped for similar agreements with other allies.
We have signed an agreement about a 100 years partnership. We are confident in the independence of our state, and this is something Ukrainians will never give away. We are confident in our European partners, and this is something that strengthens Ukraine, Britain, and the whole Euro-Atlantic space.
So the visit is the latest meeting that Zelensky is holding in a flurry of talks with allies before Donald Trump's return to the White House next week. Cuban opposition leader Jose Daniel Ferrer was among a group of prisoners released on Thursday in a landmark deal with departing US President Joe Biden. Ferrer is the most high-profile of the prisoners that Cuba began freeing on Wednesday after Biden agreed to remove the country from Washington's list of terrorism sponsors. In a return for being removed from the US terror list, Cuba promised to release 553 people. Over 30 people have been freed as part of the deal so far. Cuba has said it will continue to gradually release prisoners from its jails in the coming weeks and days. A fire broke out on Thursday at an energy storage facility within Vistra Corps' Moss Landing power plant in Monterey County, California. The blaze, which occurred at one of the world's largest battery storage plants, prompted immediate evacuation orders for nearby areas. Hundreds of people were ordered to evacuate and part of a nearby highway was closed due to the fire. Authorities have stated that an investigation into the cause of the fire will begin once it is fully extinguished. And on to the latest updates in the Los Angeles fires. Firefighters were making steady progress on the deadly fires that have destroyed thousands of homes and other buildings across the region. But residents must prepare for a return of the strong winds that could rekindle and spread the flames as authorities warn. Los Angeles Fire Department has cautioned the residents to clear the bushes within 200 feet of their homes as harsh Santa Ana winds are expected to return next week. The Palisades and Eaton fires, along with several smaller blazes, have burned nearly 40,000 acres of area in Los Angeles County so far. The number of deaths attributed to the fires in Los Angeles rose to 27. Nearly 150,000 people have so far signed an online petition demanding the immediate resignation of Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass over her gross mismanagement and a lack of leadership during the devastating wildfires in the region. Meanwhile, frigid air is expected to move across the United States over the weekend and into the next week, bringing below freezing temperatures to most of the country. The bitter weather tied to an Arctic polar vortex blast is expected to bring nighttime lows as cold as minus 23 degrees Fahrenheit over the weekend for some of the northernmost parts of the United States. Chilly temperatures in January are not unusual, but these conditions are likely to be abnormally cold. The cold will settle across the country slowly, starting in the upper Midwest on Saturday before moving south into Sunday. By Monday, just about every state will be experiencing temperatures colder than average for this time of the year. And now to the weather report from Germany. It's been a cloudy winter for much of the country. And why are we talking about that? Because it matters for German consumers and companies who rely on renewable energy and currently find themselves without enough power supply. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin now. Lars, what can you tell us about the weather over there in Germany and what problems it is causing?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Actually, it's not that bad right now this morning, but generally the past few days were cloudy and we didn't have much wind. We call this a Dunkelflaute, a weather phenomenon with not much sun nor wind. And we've had one in December already. Now that is a huge problem because in an effort to get out of fossil fuels, Germany has been investing in solar and wind energy infrastructure. And while that is a good idea, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for sustainable energy sources, there is also some risk. Specifically this Dunkelflaute phenomenon when solar and wind simply don't deliver enough energy to satisfy demand. And that's what we're looking at. In Germany, wind energy is currently the #1 energy source, supplying 33%. Solar brings in another 14% on top of that. So so these two alone are good for almost half of German energy demand. And when they're falling short, energy has to come from other sources. And in reality, that means we have to import it.
Okay, thank you. Lars Holter there, reporting from DW Berlin. SpaceX's ambitious Starship rocket suffered a major setback on Thursday during its latest test flight after it lost contact with ground control minutes after separating from the booster. This particular test flight aimed to demonstrate key capabilities, including satellite deployment. While the booster stage successfully landed back on Earth, the upper stage experienced an anomaly leading to a loss of communication and ultimately the mission. The mission marked the 7th Starship test since 2023. SpaceX founder Elon Musk revealed on X that too much pressure was created by the leak in the space above the engine firewall. The rocket failed as a result of this exceeding the venting capacity. Still to come on DD India News Hour. The Maha economic impact of the 45-day Kumbh, significant revenue to be generated for the northern state of Uttar Pradesh. And also on the other side, we discuss India's growth story with our guest.
timeless, boundless, and infinite, the essence of faith, the soul of Sanatan culture, from the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic, world's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Maha Kumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. A quick reminder of the headlines we are tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauds India's fantastic and future-ready auto industry while inaugurating the second edition of Bharat Mobility Global Expo in New Delhi. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Bibi convicted in a landmark graft case. Khan sentenced to 14 years in prison. And Israel's cabinet to meet on Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal after Prime Minister Netanyahu says the deal is finalized. India is projected to maintain the fastest growth rate among the world's largest economies, according to the Global Economic Prospects for January 2025 report released by the World Bank. According to the World Bank report, the growth forecast for India are unchanged at 6.7% for fiscal year 2026, maintaining that the country will remain the fastest growing major economy for the next two fiscals. The global economy is projected to expand by 2.7% in both 2025 and 26, the same pace as it had in 2024, as inflation and interest rates decline gradually. Growth in developing economies is also expected to hold steady at about 4% over the next 2 years. India's growth is expected to decelerate to 6.5% in 2024-25 from 8.2% in 2023-24, reflecting a slowdown in investment and weak manufacturing growth. The World Bank said fiscal policies in majority of the countries in the South Asian region, including in India, are expected to be generally tight over the forecast horizon. Shamay Bhargava, senior economic journalist, now joins us for more perspective on India's growth story. Welcome, sir, to the program. First of all, a word on what the World Bank has said about India remaining the fastest growing major economy in the world for the next 2 years, far outpacing even China. What does it say for the government's economic management?
It's actually rather interesting because what we are now getting, and this is something to be understood very carefully, is that over a decade, since this government has come in, two things have been done. One is that inflation has been targeted. As a result, the inflation targeting has given us space to try out monetary policy in a way which can actually help growth to push up. Second thing that has happened is the government has been conservative on fiscal issues, which means the government has not gone in for unnecessary expenditure, which will not give returns, rather push the expenditure on capital. As a result of both, the government and the RBI have created a situation where they can continue, where they can actually now, as the world economy gets into a bit of a problem, try to insulate the Indian economy from the vagaries of the world economy. And as you're pointing out from the growth numbers of, as the World Bank was also reporting about the Indian economy, it shows that we are on the correct path.
Okay. The World Bank has also said that India's agricultural growth has recovered and private consumption has remained resilient, mainly supported by improved rural incomes. How significant is this achievement?
It's very significant. In fact, what has happened is that the food inflation, which had threatened to go out of margins, has actually now improved. Both the Rabi and the Kharif crops have been comfortable. So we are now in a position where we can expect that the rural inflation will be stable. That means that the wage rise which is happening in rural India can actually push consumption. That's very important. That's very, very important because urban consumption is not pushing up adequately. So what's happened is India's buffer stock of reserves, the buffer stock of food grains, and keeping inflation expectations anchored, which means that the inflation expectations of the people are not that inflation will run away. Keeping all of these three under control has helped now for India to try something very smart in the budget. But again, as I said, not without being fiscally conservative. Yes.
The World Bank has talked about the Indian government strengthening manufacturing activity through measures such as better logistics infrastructure and tax reforms. How important are the improved logistics? And with the budget, like you mentioned, just around the corner, what kind of such tax reforms can we expect?
Well, again, this is something that is often not recognized, that by the government has actually given, taken away from itself the freedom to change tax rates, especially in indirect taxes. The GST regime means that all the taxes on goods and services are now set periodically by a consultation between the center and the states. That's a very important thing. So as a result, you don't get to see fluctuations in goods and services prices because of the budget. That's a very good, important thing. The expectation is that the government will be able to harness the expenditure in ways that promotes growth in the economy, which means creating more and more policy reforms which help industries to start investing, so that private investment starts following from where the government investment is sort of taking off or has left off. Yes.
Okay, a word on another positive that the World Bank has mentioned, that the government's fiscal deficit is expected to continue to shrink.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, that the government has been, and not just today, it has been happening over the last few years during the term of this government, that the fiscal deficit has been kept very conservative. As a result, there is no room for, in India, it has been accepted that India will continue to be fiscally conservative. And that's a very major achievement in economic management of the economy.
Okay, and on the other hand, how serious are the trade policy shifts likely to be for India in the immediate future, especially from the US and to a lesser degree from Europe?
And also in the subcontinent, we have got huge disturbances happening on both sides of our borders, the western and the eastern border. And I suspect we'll have to take up a lot of responsibility very soon. So this fact that the Indian economy has been kept on an even keel will come in very useful very soon. I suspect that in 2025 we will be needing to take very major steps to help some of our neighbors whose conditions are in fairly difficult conditions now. Also, it allows us, because the rupee has been, because if in USA, if tariffs are going to rise, then it's very important that our rupee continues to depreciate, because that gives us the bargaining power vis-a-vis a rising tariff. So even if rising tariffs try to hurt us, the fact that our rupee is going down gives us the cushion to keep our exports competitive. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Shubhamay, for giving us the perspective on India's transformative economic journey. Thank you. And now all the news from the Maha Kumbh, the largest religious congregation in the world. On day 5 of the Maha Kumbh Mela, millions of devotees continue to gather at the sacred banks of the Ganges in Prayagraj. As many as 40,000 police officers are on guard to provide security and help manage the crowds. A celebration of faith and harmony, the festival attracts devotees from India and abroad. It is believed that those who take the holy bath in the sacred waters of the Maha Kumbh are absolved of sins and freed from the cycle of life and death. DD India's Siddharth Bhardwaj reports.
Maha Kumbh 2025, the largest religious gathering on earth, this mega festival has started, and today is the 5th day of Maha Kumbh 2025, and you can see the large influx of people, the large influx of tourists, pilgrims and devotees who are coming to take holy bath in the confluence of River Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati, known as Triveni Sangam. People from all walks of life are coming here to experience the grandeur of this mega festival. As you can see behind me, the temperature is dipping, the sun is shining, but the enthusiasm of the people is soaring with each passing day. Yesterday, renowned Indian singer Shankar Mahadevan was also here. He set the stage ablaze with his powerful performance, and also the audience who was present there were tapping on the devotional tunes. The devotional music is going on here at every corner. And amid this large congregation, the government has made sure that the security arrangements are elaborate. The first Amrit Snan was on January 14 on the occasion of Makar Sankranti, and the next Amrit Snan will be on 29th of January on Moni Amavasya, in which around 8 crore people are expected to come here in this holy land of Prayagraj, and for that elaborate security arrangements have been made, including 7-layer security, drone surveillance, helicopter surveillance, underwater drones, AI integrated cameras and CCTV cameras at every corner of the Kumbh Mela premises to make sure that the people who are coming here, this spiritual journey of theirs remains peaceful, harmonious, safe and secure. Apart from that, in case of any fire emergency, there are 2,000 plus fire personnel deployed, and they have all the equipments and all the vehicles which can go in particular situation and give emergency response. All in all, the government has made no stone unturned to make sure that this largest peaceful religious gathering on earth remains peaceful, safe and secure. With camera person Rakesh Kumar, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in Prayagraj.
The Maha Kumbh 2025 in Sangam, Prayagraj is not just a testament to India's eternal Sanatan Dharam culture and traditions, but also has a significant economic aspect. According to estimates, the shops operating during the 45-day Kumbh Mela are expected to generate revenues of 200 billion rupees, while the government earnings may touch 3 trillion rupees. DD India's Ajay Mishra has filed this report.
Jai Maha Kumbh.
To showcase India's rich cultural and eternal Sanatan heritage, Uttar Pradesh government created a new district for just 121 days. This new district of Prayagraj, named Maha Kumbh Nagar, looks stunning as the land is witness to India's eternal traditions since ages. The new district will exist from December 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025. Maha Kumbh Nagar is also the world's largest temporary city.
Since ancient times, India's economy has revolved around religion and culture. Prayagraj, with its timeless Kumbh tradition, is the greatest witness to this. The Maha Kumbh 2025 has significantly impacted Prayagraj's local economy as well.
The Uttar Pradesh government expects 50 billion rupees investment in the tourism sector. This event will generate revenue of 400 billion rupees. Confederation of All India Traders also estimates that shopkeepers here will earn 200 billion rupees. The trade of pilgrimage-related goods is projected to touch 200 billion rupees. For the first time, helicopters are being used for Kumbh Parikrama or aerial tours, costing rupees 5,000 per person. This alone is expected to generate 100 billion rupees in revenue. The Uttar Pradesh government anticipates a total revenue of 200 billion rupees from the event.
Maha Kumbh 2025 में
consumption has increased manifold, and that is why different strata of people are getting benefited from it. There is no doubt that Kumbh will benefit every section of society, right from airline employees to different people.
Air travel bookings for Prayagraj increased by 162%. Railway ticket bookings saw 187% rise. Air ticket sales for Varanasi and Lucknow also spiked significantly. Searches for Prayagraj on websites rose 23 times. Hotels near Prayagraj are charging rupees 10,000 to 40,000 per day. This is just an estimate. The exact figures of Maha Kumbh's economic impact will only be known after 45 days. However, when one tea stall owners earn rupees 25,000 to 30,000 On Makar Sankranti alone, you can imagine how big will be the overall earning of various participants in the event. With camera person Shiv Suman, Ajay Mishra's report for DD India from Prayagraj.
India's Communications Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia launched the Sanchar Sathi mobile app in New Delhi, empowering telecom users with features to report fraud, block lost handsets and manage mobile connections. At the same event, Scindia unveiled the National Broadband Mission 2.0, aiming to deliver high-speed broadband connectivity across the country by 2030. He also inaugurated the intra-circle roaming scheme at the DNB-funded 4G sites to ensure seamless connectivity for mobile users. The minister emphasized that these initiatives form the foundation for a transformative revolution in India's telecom sector.
We unveil three very critical aspects of our telecom universe. On the one hand, ensuring that our network becomes all-pervasive across the length and breadth of our country. The second is on the basis of that fundamental premise, look at a concept of intra-operator roaming capability to be able to share our networks. And by sharing our networks, increasing our productivity, increasing our return on investment, increasing our return on capital employed. And the third, on the basis of a sharing capability of infrastructure through the Sanchar Sathi portal, providing a safe and a secure environment.
In the first ever visit of a head of a nation, President of Singapore, Tharman Shanmugaratnam, arrived on a two-day visit to the Indian state of Odisha on Friday. Upon arrival, he was welcomed by the State Chief Minister Mohan Charan Majhi and Union Minister Dharmendra Pradhan at the Bhubaneswar airport. During the visit, areas of collaboration will be in artificial intelligence, aerospace technology, avionics and marine engineering. Ahead of Utkarsh Odisha, Make in Odisha conclave scheduled for January 28th and 29th, the visit of Singapore President is believed as a significant development to attract investors to the conclave. Still to come on DD India News Hour. In Australian Open, Carlos Alcaraz storms into the fourth round. Naomi Osaka retires injured in the third round. And in badminton, we'll give you the update on the ongoing India Open tournament.
What will be Trump 2.0's foreign policy outlook? Can we expect something different this time? How will different countries adjust to Trump's disruptive as well as unusual presidency?
The optimistic scenario, which I think Donald Trump actually wants to see, is essentially a great power concert. He wants a world in which the United States and China and Russia and India, great powers, and to quote Thucydides, he likes to live in a world where great powers, do what they can and weaker powers suffer what they must.
Thank you for staying with us on DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Time now for the sporting action. Indian President Draupadi Murmu conferred the National Sports Awards 2024 on Friday at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. President Murmu awarded the Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award to double Olympic medalist Manu Bhakar. Youngest world chess champion India's D. Gukesh was also conferred with Khel Ratna for his exceptional run at the recent World Chess Championship in Singapore. Indian men's hockey captain Harmanpreet Singh and para-athlete Praveen Kumar also received the honour for their outstanding contribution in the field of sports.
Khel Ratna is one of the highest, most prestigious award of the country, and definitely it's an honour to receive the prestigious award. And of course, it is an inspiration to work even harder in future and try and win more medals for my country. I have been training for last two and a half months, so on regular basis. Competitions are coming soon, I would say end of this month or next month, yeah.
And now updates from the matches scheduled for today at the India Open tournament. India's ace shuttler PV Sindhu will face Indonesia's GM Tunjung in the quarterfinal match on Friday. Earlier, Sindhu secured commanding 2-0 win over Japan's Manami Suizu. In men's singles category, India's Kiran George will take on China's Weng Hong Yang in the quarterfinal. And meanwhile, at the men's doubles, Indian duo of Satvik and Chirag will take on South Korea's Y Jin and MH Kong in the quarterfinals. And in Australian Open 2025, Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz stormed into the fourth round of Australian Open with a 6-2, 6-4, 6-7, 6-3 victory over Nuno Borges on Friday. Alcaraz will next face Britain's Jack Draper or Alexander Vucic in the fourth round on Sunday. India's Rohan Bopanna and his Chinese partner Shuai Chang registered a straight sets win over Kristina Mladenovic and Ivan Dodig, winning the match 6-4, 6-4. With this victory, the duo has entered into the second round of the mixed doubles. Defending champion Arna Sabalenka reached the Australian Open fourth round after a 7-6, 6-4 victory over Clara Tauson on Rod Laver Arena on the sixth day of the championship. Two-time Australian Open champion Naomi Osaka retired with an injury during her third round match against Belinda Bencic on Friday in Melbourne. India continued their impressive run in the Coco World Cup 2025, securing a commanding 71-34 victory over Bhutan at the Indira Gandhi Indoor Stadium on Thursday night. The win guarantees India's position at the top of Group A and a place in the quarterfinals. The hosts set the tone early in the first turn, displaying exceptional attacking prowess to accumulate 32 points. In the second turn, India showcased their defensive expertise. Nikhil emerged as a standout performer with his exceptional skydiving abilities, helping the team secure 36 points in turn 3. Meanwhile, Bhutan struggled in their final attacking turn, managing just 9 points in more than half the allocated time. The 39-point victory margin reflects India's dominance in the match as they continue their unbeaten streak in the tournament. And in some entertainment news now, Hollywood director David Lynch is no more. He died at the age of 78. Renowned for his groundbreaking work on Mulholland Drive and Blue Velvet, Lynch gained a cult following with his unsettling depictions of American life. Diptanshu Kashyap reports on his life and legacy.
A master of surrealism, David Lynch is renowned for his visually stunning, disturbing and enigmatic works filled with dreamlike sequences and bizarre imagery. Considered one of the most innovative filmmakers of his generation, Lynch's impact on cinema is undeniable. Born on January 20th, 1946, he has directed 10 feature films including iconic titles like Blue Velvet, The Elephant Man and Mulholland Drive, which earned him 3 Academy Award nominations for Best Director. In 1990, Lynch transitioned to television with groundbreaking mystery crime series Twin Peaks. Beyond filmmaking, Lynch was a true Renaissance man, also a writer, painter, musician, and an actor. His last on-screen appearance came as a director, John Ford, in Steven Spielberg's semi-autobiographical film The Fabelmans. In his later years, Lynch focused on a range of creative pursuits, including documentaries, short films, and maintaining a popular YouTube channel called David Lynch Theatre. He also released music albums, soundtracks, and authored books, including his 2018 memoir, Room to Dream. Lynch's impressive accolades include the 1990 Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival for Wild at Heart and an honorary Academy Award in 2019. His unique filmmaking style, described by Vanity Fair as Lynchian, marked by airy, slow-paced and unsettling elements, will leave a lasting imprint on the world of cinema. Diptanshu Kashyap's report for DD India.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.